Hey guys, Teagan here. Today we are going to go through the process of how I apply resin to my pieces. And as you can see in front of me, we have everything that you'll need, starting from your piece of art all the way through the kit. First off, we're just going to talk a little bit about what you're going to need when you get started. This is my preference. I usually use 1.5 inch wood birch panels, and then I apply it to that. If you want to see that, I do have another video that you can watch on how I mount the UPO to the wood panels. Next little bit, you'll need some tape, a little flashlight, a torch. You can also use an artist torch, which are just the small little guys. I just have one of these, so this is what I use. Depending on the amount of resin you need, I would say you should have a scale. Sometimes it's easier to eyeball it if you have something like this that has the amount of liquid on the sides in ounces, milliliters, whatever you want to measure it in, that's fine. But if it's a small amount and this doesn't go in like 1 ounce increments, I usually just use a normal cup and a scale just so I can measure out equal parts. And then obviously the next little thing you'll need is your resin. I use Art Resin. To give a quick recap, it is non-yellowing, it has a light stabilizer in it which helps your piece from fading or yellowing again in the future. And on top of that, if you use it for other applications, it is food safe. Now the only other thing I have to use, I don't have in the shot just because it's bigger, is an old Tupperware Tote. And then just for when I actually apply the resin, and you can see I will put the cover on, let it sit, it's see-through, I can see what's happening. No, there's no issues, no hairs, no bubbles, things like that. So my first step that I always do is I start taping my piece, and I will show you my little trick that I use. So when I do my first section of tape, I always leave a little extra overhang just so that nothing actually goes under the piece, because if it was taped right to the bottom, you will get resin buildup on the bottom of your panel, and that's just a lot of extra effort to clean it. Why work harder when you can work smarter, right? So leave a little overhang, it drips down. If anything does get underneath, it's usually very minimal, but it usually just stops before it goes underneath the panel. And then my next layer for tape will just go over top of that. And if I have to do a third layer, I will. But I always go from the bottom up. If you went the other way around, your overlap of your tape will be up instead of down. So resin will try to find its way in, peel it apart, it'll go onto your panel. Again, more effort than you need to put into cleaning it up. On my last layer, I always like to bring it as close as I can to the UPO without actually going over it. This allows the resin to just kind of dome off and fall down. I find it gives it a little bit of a cleaner look, but that's just my preference. If you want to build it up, you're more than welcome to. I've seen a lot of people do it with good success, but this is just my preference. So now I'm going to use some tiles. It's just what I have on hand to build it up so that my piece isn't actually sitting on the floor here. This allows everything again to just fall off. It won't go underneath the piece. Again, easier to clean up. So a tool I forgot to mention at the beginning, there's just a little level. Just put it on. Let's see how you're looking. Looks like I'm a little off. You want to take your time and level it as best as you can. Just because if it is tipped, it can make all your resin slope to that side, so you have a lot less, say if it was going this way, you have a big pool of resin down here and then nearly nothing up here. You're gonna have to do a second layer. It's just way better just to take your time, make sure it's level. You got a nice, clean, even surface, and everybody's gonna be happy. So the next step is to just make sure your surface is clean. Usually just go over it again, look at it with under some light. Check if there's any hairs, any little fluffs, all that sort of stuff. After that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to artresin.com. They have a calculator on there. You put the length and width of your piece in inches into the calculator, and it will give you the amount of ounces you need. The ounces are always equal parts hardener and resin. So if it's 2 ounces, you want 1 ounce of resin, 1 ounce of hardener, put it together, mix it up, and you're good to go. Now that we know how much resin we need, let's start pouring it in. we have the right amount of resin. We're going to mix it up for 3 minutes. Now that we're all mixed up, let's put it on. So this is where you're going to need your torch. As you can see, there are a bunch of bubbles. So we take our torch, run it across. You want to give it a little bit too because the bubbles do rise in the resin. So in a few minutes you'll kind of see me go over it again, or you might even see a couple popping on their own, but we check it out. We don't want any bubbles, or as little as possible. You find you do have some that are kind of a little deeper in the layer. I will usually use a little tool and lift them up if I can and pop them. Awesome. I'm pretty satisfied for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it, and Art Resin does have a 45-minute working window. So I'm going to come back around that point just so I can look into it again, see if there's any extra bubbles or if maybe a hair fell into it, maybe a fluff, but we're going to check on it anyways, and we'll see you in a few minutes. So I did check it, been about 45 minutes. I didn't find anything wrong. The quick ways to check are just using your light. You can kind of lean back and see, or if you take your flashlight, like I was suggesting, you can look into the piece, look from the sides, so on and so forth. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave it now for 24 hours, and then we will check on it tomorrow. It has now been 24 hours, and we are going to uncover our piece, see how it looks, see if we may need a second coat, and go from there. Awesome. So hopefully you can kind of see, it looks real good. So as you can see, just by the way we taped it as well, that all the drippings went down at the bottom, and if you peel that back, nothing has gone underneath. It's perfect. And there you have it, all done. So just to go over again, what you need as far as tools will be your piece of art on a wood panel, measuring cups, a scale if you do very small amounts, it's a nice way to do it. You can also cheat and use water and mark the cup. Some tape, I use blue painter's tape, a flashlight, level, a little tool, you can use a toothpick, straw, whatever you want to kind of just pick stuff out. Obviously your art resin and your torch. Also your tote or something to cover the resined piece with. You can also use cardboard with maybe a garbage bag over top or saran wrap around it. There's many different ways you can do it. I've done it all. It all works the same. I just like the tote for the sake of being able to see inside of it better. It's a harder top just in case anything happens. Just my preference. If you have any other questions, feel free to send me a message or even leave it in a comment in this video. Until then, I'm done for now, and we will see you again next time. Take care.